Let's get fired up, bro. It's about time. We have the main fight night of the week. We have Vicente Luque versus Bilal Muhammad 2 as our fight night. Let's get rolling, bro.
UFC Apex 51 and UFC on ESPN 34 coming at you live from the Calf Kick Experience.
This week, our first fight, the main card is Mounir Lazzez versus Ange Loosa. Mounir, and I'm fucking up both these guys' names for a fact, but Mounir Lazzez is coming at 10-2, coming off a loss to Warley Alves. Mounir is 6'1", coming at 76-inch reach, and his opponent on short-term replacement as of today, on Tuesday, is Ange Loosa. He's coming at 8-2 at 5'10 with the 74-inch reach. Ong is making his first UFC appearance, his UFC debut this weekend, and the last ninja is in for a tough opponent. Mounir Lazzez is definitely a competent striker, even though he's coming off a pretty quick KO in the first round against Warley Alves. Mounir has definitely showed some promise in the UFC, especially taking out Abdul Hussein. Tough names here, folks. These folks aren't American. Anywho, it'll be interesting to see how the UFC rookie in his first fight comes in, and if he can make weight, and if he can make this interesting fight.
Look, I'm actually pretty high on Ange Loosa in this fight. I think there's a lot of things that can be said for Mounir Lazzez. He's the sniper for a reason. He's got some real good kicks. He's definitely a competent kickboxer. But I like Ange Loosa in this fight, man. And his Contender Series fight back in September with Jack Della Maddalena, who I'm super high on. That dude can fucking fight. Ange Loosa had moments where he looked really good. He went 3 rounds there. His only other loss is a close split decision back in the day. He's only 28 years old. And, my favorite thing is that he is taking this fight on 4 days' notice, but he just fought and won in ex-MMA 10 days ago. So I can't imagine that he's fallen too far out of shape in the past 10 days. I imagine he's probably still been training because he couldn't have taken too much damage if he was going to turn around this fast. But I think I see a path to victory, for Ange Loosa in this one, just by dirtying it up, man. I think if he can keep this fight close range and keep Lazzez from getting too far away from him, and then just occasionally mix in the threat of the takedown, and if he lands a couple, this could be a problem fight. I don't see him getting a big knockout here. I don't think anything crazy happens because I think, like you said, Lazzez is competent on the feet. But I do think if Ange Loosa can make this a dirty boxing fight and can just make this tough on Lazzez, be in his face the whole time, he can work his way to a decision.
I kind of agree with you partially, but I think Ange Loosa, that 10-day short notice replacement fight, just from the pictures, he looks on the bigger side of the 170 weight class, in my opinion. Who knows how his weight cuts go. Obviously, he wouldn't take it if he knew he couldn't get it. And obviously, he wouldn't have taken the fight if he was pretty damaged from his previous fight. However, it's hard. He's in the spotlight. He's on national television. He's on ESPN Plus for the first time fighting in the A-League, the UFC. It's going to be tough for him. I'm not sure what his game is, what his stylistic approach is. I know he has quite a bit of knockouts on his record to date, and he has a pretty good, record to begin with. But Lazzez, albeit his last time out before that, I was very high on him. I liked his style. I liked his a distanced approach. I like his leg kicks, his body kicks. I especially one thing that I appreciated about his game that was different and kind of out there was his advancing elbows that he had for guys coming in on him. So like you're saying that, Loosa wants to come in on him. those advancing elbows are a sneaky, sneaky weapon because it's not like he's throwing it like a normal elbow. He's using his feet to use his elbows as a weapon. So, I mean, I like Lazzez in that point from a close stylistic approach. But I couldn't say that, maybe Loosa's cleanest path to victory is probably to take Lazzez down, but I'm not too confident. I haven't seen too much, obviously, because he's been fighting on the regional scene up to this point. So I'm gonna take the known quantity in Lazzez here pretty confidently because I like what he brings to the table, and he's fought some top-notch competition recently in Warley Alves, who's the only other guy to beat Colby Covington except for Usman and also Abdul Al Hussein.
No, I think one of the big points that when I started looking into Ang Loosa, or I guess more so when I started looking into Lazzez, that became just glaringly clear to me, is that Lazzez is 6 years older and he's only got 12 fights. So he's a relatively older guy that's still fresh to this game. His counterpart, like I said, is 6 years younger. He's 28 years old and he already has 10 fights. So while the level of experience might not be the same, I'll give you, Warley Alves is a tough night out for anybody, much less Lazzez. But I think the fact that Ang Loosa is fighting so regularly will play into his favor. And I think what Warley Alves was able to do to Lazzez is probably going to be what Ang Loosa's game plan sort of looks like. The pressure striking. If you get Lazzez going backwards, he really has a hard time getting some stuff together. Like you said, that elbow is dirty, but I just think if we can get him on his back foot, Ang Loosa can land a takedown, and I don't like a whole lot of what I see from Lazzez on the ground. Not that there's much to go by, I'll give you that.
I agree. I think Lazzez struggles on his back foot, especially when being pressured. And also, there's not a lot of film of him being put on the ground and necessarily staying there. So, I think it's a known quantity versus unknown. But let's see what the odd makers have to say about this matchup.
We only have 2 prop bets.
We only have, yeah. So we have Ang Loosa coming in as a plus 180 dog and Mounir Lazzez coming in at minus 210 favorite. I mean, for a late minute replacement and a guy that, it's relatively not known a lot, and UFC debut, I mean, they're giving him a lot of respect at the plus 180 money line.
I 100% agree. I think that line has got to be solely based off of how well he fought Jack Della and how well Jack Della has done since he's gotten into the UFC since that point. But, at plus 180 with little prop bets to play with at the moment, even when prop bets come out, I have a feeling that the fight will go to decision. Minus 165 doesn't tickle me too much, and neither does minus 180 for over 2 rounds. So at this point, I think safe to play your plus 180 bet just at the money line. But if you're with Gage, minus 210 for a short notice replacement with a guy that you've seen lots of tape on, it's a good bet as well. This is a fight that I think, offers a lot of opportunities and avenues for making cash.
I agree, but for your perspective, I feel like plus 180 is not really, coming back too strong, especially for somebody in their UFC debut against I wouldn't say a well-known quantity, but a quantity that has won against quality opponents in the UFC before. So, there's other factors here besides the typical physical factors that we talk about, when it comes to a UFC debut on a main card in the UFC.
This didn't even strike my mind until just now, but, I guess I'm kind of betting on Ang Loosa catching the Chris Moutinho effect and saying, this is my first UFC fight. They're putting me at the start of a main card where, people are going to be watching as often then as they probably will be at the main card or at the top of the main card. You know, I mean, I guess I'm just hoping that the adrenaline dump that he gets going into the cage doesn't wear off too soon.